but state and local government can spend their sales tax revenues as they wish. In 1987, Congress passed FAA authorization amendments that required airports to spend aviation fuel excise tax revenue on airport uses. The conference report for the 1987 authorization clearly stated that the requirement that local taxes on aviation fuel must be spent on airports, quote, is intended to apply to local fuel taxes only and not to other taxes imposed by local governments or to state taxes, end quote. Decisions on spending state and local government sales tax of general purposes are left up to the states and to the local governments. On December 8, 2014, FAA made a final rulemaking that contradicts this congressional intent after 29 years of practice by saying that, quote, the agency interpreted provisions of sections 47107B and 47133 to apply to any state or local tax on aviation fuel, whether the tax was specifically targeted at aviation fuel or was a general sales tax on products that included aviation fuel without exemption. Sales tax on general applications are taxes on all products. They're clearly not the same as excise tax on specific items such as aviation fuel for a specific purpose of benefit to an airport. The FAA ruling is contrary to states' rights and is an assault on state and local control of their general application sales tax measures. The biggest problem is with this federal mandate is how it affects voter-approved sales tax measures that have clear direction from voters on spending. In Los Angeles County, voters have passed sales tax by 2/3 margin for the construction of specific highway and transit projects. This rulemaking will overturn the will of my constituency to tax themselves for specific purposes. An additional concern is that since sales tax on aviation fuel are not segregated from other taxable sources, the burden placed on states and local governments to implement the tracking system necessary would be extensive, and challenging to implement. The amendment continues congressional intent that aviation fuel excise taxes must be spent at airports. The amendment makes clear that the state and local general sales tax, as applied to aviation fuel, should not be subject to that same requirement. Mr. Chairman, I ask support of my colleagues in protecting state and local governments and clarifying the original intent of Congress that local tax on aviation fuel means a specific local aviation fuel excise tax. I yield back.
I claim the time in opposition to the amendment. I thank the gentlelady for offering it. However, I do oppose it. In 2014, the FAA clarified policy guidance to ensure that sales tax derived from aviation fuels are subject to the same revenue requirements that all other airport revenues are subject to. Federal law requires any taxes on aviation fuel to be used to improve airport or other aeronautical facilities. States should not be permitted to circumvent the intention of this law by applying sales tax to general aviation. My airport, it's not my airport, but the Pittsburgh airport tried to do just that when it found natural gas, and of course I opposed it because I wanted to go back into the airport where, again, that's what the federal law says. Airlines, airports, general aviation, business aviation all support this FAA policy clarification and strongly oppose state and local government budgets using aviation taxes to balance their budgets to use for other sources. This bill is about preserving and strengthening our nation's investment in aviation. Therefore, I would urge all members to oppose. With that, seeking any other, Ms. Napolitano has about a minute left if she cares to rebut me.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would certainly want to ensure that this is only clarifying that the local voter-approved taxes are not subject to that section, and that consistent with the original intent of the Congress, the local tax on aviation fuel means specifically local fuel excise taxes on aviation fuel. Thank you. Reel back.
Thank the gentlelady. Again, I oppose any amendment to the amendment. Seeing none, all in favor of Ms. Napolitano's amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. No. According to the chair, the noes have it.
Recorded vote, please.
Gentlelady requests a recorded vote. We'll have a recorded vote. We'll